Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Iris and today I'm going to be showing you the swatches for the new Nomad Fuji 5 Lakes eyeshadow palette, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I think about the palette and the colors. Just a really quick disclaimer, I didn't pay for this palette. I actually reached out to Nomad because I admired their brand. They're cruelty-free, they're climate conscious, and they're a part of a lot of organizations and donate their proceeds to a lot of organizations that help protect the environment and the planet. So I was a big fan of their company as well as their color stories. Their eyeshadow palettes are inspired by destinations around the world, so I just thought their whole brand was very cool. So I reached out to them asking if they would be willing to send me a palette in exchange for a video, and they very graciously sent me this palette regardless of whether I made the video or not. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the palette. So this palette is inspired by Mount Fuji and the foliage and the lake in the fall, so that's where the color story comes from, and this palette sells for $44. I really want to talk about the packaging because I just think it's really cool. It is like a canvas and it's like 3D, so it has like raised bumps that you can feel, so it's really like you're touching a work of art on the front and the back. And the colors, like I said, were inspired by the autumn foliage in Japan. And I'll put a picture right here because the design on the shadows are really pretty as well. But that doesn't matter if the eyeshadows aren't good, right? Let me just do the swatches for you first. This one is Fiery Maple, and they're very pigmented, very intense colors. Next is Momiji. And then Burning Bush. And they're very blendable, so it looked a little streaky because of my hands, but they are very, very blendable shades. And they're very like pigmented and they kind of like stay on your skin. So I'm just using like a bit of micellar water essentially to wipe this off. And there is just a bit of residue that is left behind on my fingers and on my hands, so very, very intense pigments. Next up is Red Rowan, and this one's just a very pretty like transition shade. I don't know if you can even see it. It just blends right into my skin and it's just a beautiful transition shade for me personally. Next is Fuji Goko. Like a very pretty muted blue. And then this one is Kawaguchiko. I think their shimmers by far are my favorite. They're so pigmented. And then I'm gonna swatch Diamond Fuji right across the top here. This one is my absolute favorite. It is intensely sparkly. It has shimmers of blue in certain lighting, but then it's like clear in other lighting. So it looks like it's wet almost. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know if you can see it. It's actually the color I have on my inner corners right now. It just gives you that really like wet look without it being wet. Like the shimmers are really finely milled. So it's like extremely glittery in the right lighting. And in certain lighting, it's blue. So it is their like duochrome lighting. So the blue is a little more sparse, which makes it a little more wearable to me. I don't know. It really does just feel like you're putting like a blue diamond on your eye. As they're releasing their color story, I was actually really nervous because I typically go for a more like wearable makeup look, like more natural makeup look. And that's just personal preference. I don't like to go out and draw too much attention to my face and my makeup. So I didn't want to have a whole palette that I asked for that I wasn't gonna use, but the colors are actually really wearable. For example, the eye look I have on right now, I feel like it's extremely wearable even for like the daytime. I actually have a tutorial right here if you'd like to check that out afterwards, but the colors actually aren't that scary even as I was swatching it, and the yellows are very dimensional. Like on the palette it looks like you're just getting primary colors, but I don't know how they did it that when you put it on the skin it really looks like the colors of the fall leaves. Like it's not a one-dimensional color, not like it changes colors, but the colors are very cohesive once it's on. It's just like very beautiful. It's as if I took a leaf from outside and I wanted it to be an eyeshadow and turned it into an eyeshadow. Like there was no loss of translation in the intent of the color and the actual color. So I thought that was really, really impressive. And the palette is cohesive enough that you can just stick to like the yellows and oranges like I did on my eyes, or just the reds, or just the blues. So you don't have to mix and match all of the colors all at once if you're not comfortable with playing with colors, but you definitely can if you are comfortable with colors. All right, back to swatching. We're gonna go in with Mount Fuji. Next is Pampas Grass. This is probably my second favorite color. It's just so shimmery and like finely milled. It's a beautiful reflective pink. This one is Wamanakako. I feel like I'm back in Japan and can't pronounce a single thing. And it's like a sparkly denim blue jean. And then I'm gonna do Mount Hoei. If you love playing with colors, I think this is a wonderful palette for you. But if you're kind of like me and you're not as comfortable with playing with a lot of colors, I think this is still a beautiful palette just because of all of the different looks you can make with this. And I think just the shimmers in general are worth it. They're just really beautifully done. And I was like very hesitant about making this video because I didn't want to come off as biased because the brand sent this to me for free. But honestly, I am shocked at how much I actually like the colors because, like I said, I was very hesitant as they were releasing the color story. I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to use this palette, but I'm literally drooling as I play with these colors because I think they're so much fun and they're just so beautiful. Like, not only are they fun, they're really well done. So I am fangirling a little bit, and I don't think it's just because it's a PR package. I think it's just a beautiful palette. Like, the amount of care and time they took to create this really shows in the palette. Now for the yellows that are on my eyes right now, this one's Yellow Poplar, Golden Ginkgo. This one's Koyo. Oh my god, I said Kyoto in my last video. I am so embarrassed. It's not Kyoto, it's Koyo. And then this one's Burnished Beach. So those are all the colors. I think they swatch really beautifully. They have a really high color payoff. They don't have too much fallout, even though they are like a softer eyeshadow. They blend really nicely, and I really do think these colors are really unique. I've never played with a yellow or an orange before, where as I'm putting it on my eyes, I can see where the inspiration from the color came from. Like, I think they just did a really spot on job of recreating the colors of the leaves and the lakes into this palette. So I think the creators of this is very talented. And yeah, I really have no complaints about this palette. I think it's beautifully done. It's beautifully marketed. It's beautifully packaged. I think you could really tell how much care went into creating this color story, which I really appreciate as someone using this palette. So if you're in the market for a palette like this with these sort of colors, I would highly, highly recommend this palette. If you are someone who just sticks with the neutrals, these are very vibrant colors. It's not a neutral palette in any way, but there are looks that you can create with this palette that are wearable, that are pretty neutral, that you can go out in and not draw too much attention to yourself. In the coming days, I'll release a few more makeup tutorials using this palette where we can create a few more like wearable makeup looks, and you can decide whether this would be something for you or not. I will have their website linked down below. I don't have an affiliate link or affiliate code or discounts or anything like that, so I'm not making money from this video or from this palette in any way. I also just think it's really unique. Like, I don't think I've seen a palette that is literally the colors of fall leaves in a palette. So I just think it's really cool. It's obviously up to you whether you think this would be a right palette for you or not. Those are all my thoughts. I really like this palette, and I am shocked that I do because of you know, I'm a pretty boring person, not really into a lot of bright colors, and even then, I love this palette. I think it's really well done. So it's been a while since a makeup palette and an eyeshadow palette has impressed me in this way, where I feel like I could really see the care and dedication go into creating a product. So I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.